It was somewhat of a Black Friday in WWE, and we haven't really felt a Black Friday since when Vince McMahon was in charge of WWE. But if you watched Friday Night SmackDown live on the USA Network last night, talent was being released live during the broadcast, and it's continuing on into Saturday afternoon with more names announced this morning. Who has been released on top of the names already from last night, and my thoughts and opinions on some of these names, which has been truly a waste of talent by Triple H and WWE. All that and my opinion right here on Off the Script. Kevin Owens is not going to be all elite as he is staying with the WWE. An AEW star arrested for battery charges. And where is Roman Reigns, and why is he on another mini vacation on the road to WrestleMania? All this and so much more right here for your February 8th, 2025 on Off the Script. We will start with Roman Reigns. Where is Roman Reigns, and why isn't he going to be on the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view? Why is he on a mini vacation during WWE's most busiest time of the year? Roman Reigns was in the Royal Rumble. He was eliminated by CM Punk alongside Seth Rollins at the same time. This set up, obviously, rumors of a triple threat match at WrestleMania. This week on Raw, Michael Cole revealed that Roman Reigns will be out of action for the foreseeable future. Now, while there was speculation that Reigns was hurt, that is not the case, and there is no indication of that. Instead, it was all storyline driven as a way to write Reigns off TV, with him making a big return to get revenge on Seth Rollins. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that the angle was done to keep Reigns out of the Elimination Chamber. WWE usually doesn't have its top babyface in the Elimination Chamber, especially a non-champion like Roman Reigns. The status of someone like Roman Reigns, if he's not going to be in a championship match, the answer to this is very simple, folks. WWE didn't want Roman Reigns on the road to the Elimination Chamber. Otherwise, they would have to put him in the Elimination Chamber. And if he's not scheduled to win the Elimination Chamber, then that means he would have had to been pinned, because the only way out of the chamber is by a pinfall or submission. Now, WWE over the years has fucked around with the chamber, and someone from the outside has kind of gotten in and fucked somebody over. But, you know, the more times you do that, the less impactful the chamber is going to be. So WWE's keeping Roman Reigns off of television because they would have to put him in the chamber. They don't want to beat him inside the chamber, especially if he's not going to be factored into a WWE Championship match to headline WrestleMania. So you guys are wondering where Roman Reigns is. He's not hurt. Storyline reasons. He's coming back and more than likely going after Rollins first. And then maybe we'll see if CM Punk is integrated, making that a triple threat match for WrestleMania, which I am not really all that excited about. The match should be great if it's all three of those storytellers. It's going to be fantastic. But to me, the way that I feel, a triple threat match at WrestleMania, we've seen it so many times before. We see it all that often that I feel like it takes away. I would much rather prefer a one-on-one conflict, a one-on-one story, and make sure everybody gets their shit in. Punk, I feel like, could be used somewhere else, and I would hold off on the Punk and Reigns match possibly till SummerSlam. Rollins and Reigns is big enough. There's more meat to that bone than people realize to give us a captivating story going into WrestleMania. I don't think that we need a triple threat match with Rollins, Reigns, and Punk at WrestleMania. But the rumor is we're going to get that, and Cody is going to go one-on-one with John Cena. That's a whole nother can of worms. I don't really like that either. So we'll see what happens. The chamber is supposed to be very, very interesting. AEW Superstar arrested and released after battery charges have come forward. According to a recent report from Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, AEW star, if you even want to call him that, Bear Boulder. Who? The Iron Savages. Where did they work out of? Ring of Honor. Okay. So if you guys aren't aware of who this is, there's your reason. Bear Boulder, real name Thomas Wansaw, has been released by AEW after he was charged with battery, get this, by strangulation. Bear Boulder has been fired by AEW, says Sean Ross Sapp. The company learned that he had been arrested for battery by strangulation in January and cut him from the company. Wansaw was arrested on January 13th of this year. The victim has been identified as his fiancée. I guess they'll be headed towards divorce, and he will be hopefully headed to jail. According to the arrest affidavit per Jeremy Lambert of Fightful, the victim was in a verbal argument with Wansaw that escalated into a physical altercation when he pushed her to the ground. Thomas Wansaw then placed his foot onto her throat, causing the victim to lose consciousness and black out. Victim stated she gained consciousness approximately 5 to 10 minutes later and was able to retreat outside to a patio balcony area and called 911. The victim then stated that this was not the first time Wansaw had been physically violent with her. She estimated that it had happened about 5 to 10 times over the course of their relationship. Gee, you think he has a fucking problem? The police officer observed that the victim sustained injuries around her neck, which included red marks as well as scratches just below her neck, just above her breast. The back of the victim's neck was also red and appeared to be battered as well. Victim also sustained a bruise that appeared to be a bright red on her right hand. There was a hearing on January 27th, and no contact order was granted to the victim. I don't really know what else to say, but fuck Thomas Wansaw and fuck Bear Boulder. That's all I have to say there. The one I feel bad for is his partner. I don't even remember his name. It's not really all that important. His Bear Bronson is his name. There you go. It just came to me. Pardon me that I don't watch Ring of Honor. His tag team partner is the one I feel bad for the most, next to the victim, obviously. The victim, number one, I can't stand physical abuse in a relationship. Listen, I've spoken about this countless times before. I grew up around it. I grew up with it. My parents were something else growing up. The shit that we heard, the shit that we seen, the shit that we're still dealing with into our adult lives, the shit that I'm dealing with currently. You guys, I've revealed just a little bit of how that's affected me and how awful it is due to alcoholism. But the fact that this was done, fuck him. Secondly, his tag team partner now has his career stalled and ultimately ruined. Where the fuck does he go? He's got no more standing in AEW. They're not going to use him after this situation. He's got no footing in AEW. So not only did he ruin his fiance's life and continue to do it 5 to 10 times over the course of their relationship, this has been done. And now his tag team partner's got to be the one who suffers for this guy's fucking ridiculous, heinous actions. Fuck this guy. Hopefully he goes away and, I mean, listen, if he's done it 5 to 10 times, you know, you would think after the first time, first of all, it shouldn't have even happened, number one. I mean, that's a fucking animal, number one. But you would think if something got out of line and that bad, and you would never do it again, it would be a wake-up call. The fact that he's done it 5 to 10 times, you don't think the guy's a fucking problem? You don't think the guy needs some mental help? You don't think he needs some sort of counseling or guidance somewhere in his life? You don't think he needs to go seek God? I mean, that's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Fuck that guy. Good for AEW acting accordingly and getting rid of him. Nobody like that should be on television, in a locker room with anybody else. He is right now under a no contact order, and I don't know what came out of the hearing on January 27th besides that, or what the repercussions are going to be besides that. But in the end, I think we can all collectively say, fuck Bear Boulder. Good on AEW for getting rid of that problem. From one problem to someone who is going to be the problem of Sami Zayn's going into the Elimination Chamber, Kevin Owens. He officially re-signs with the WWE. Owens saw his WWE deal expire at the end of 2024, probably towards the end, early this year. Many questions were raised whether his new deal was going to come from WWE or he was going to jump ship to AEW, as there were rumors that Tony Khan and AEW very much wanted Kevin Steen in AEW. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select has confirmed he is staying with the WWE. Owens posted on X yesterday and said, and I quote, "If you guys help support my daughter's Girl Scout troop by buying some cookies, I promise to keep wrestling for at least 4 years, 11 months, and 22 days more." Which obviously, I mean, it's just a very bizarre tweet to go along with buying cookies for your daughter's Girl Scouts. But the fact that he threw that in there, you got to like the way Kevin Owens operates. You got to admire and appreciate the fact that he likes to have fun with his fan base and do something like that when the tweet really doesn't even call for something like that to be mentioned. He heavily implied that he signed a new contract with the 4 years, 11 months, and 22 days statement in the tweet. And speaking with those close to the situation, it was confirmed that Owens did, in fact, resign with the WWE, and the new deal actually kicked off the day of the Royal Rumble. He's now operating under a 5-year contract. There was literally no way Triple H was letting that man walk into AEW. He would have sat him down and paid him whatever he wants. And you could see that Kevin Owens is worth every penny that he made on his last contract, which was $3 million per. I'm assuming it's in the same ballpark, if not more now. Valuable asset to the company, one of the true locker room leaders in WWE. His leadership, his mentorship, his value to the company is something that cannot be replaced. And this is absolutely a deal that was going to get done, needed to be done, and I'm glad that he's staying with the WWE. He's one of the best storytellers in the entire company. He's one of the best storytellers in all of pro wrestling. Every time he's on TV, it's just engaging television. There's emotion that you don't really see a lot from many others that do what he does. It's just on a different level. If he went to AEW, he'd have a banger match up and down that roster. But what does it really mean? It would have shortened his career. He would have fucking broken his back even more so on top of what he's already done. And he probably would have been retired in 2-3 years. Never mind 5 years. So we're lucky that WWE has utilized him in the best way possible. They haven't broken his back. He's taken a much less role on TV when it matters most. The feuds and the stories are much more fruitful and meaningful. WWE has used Kevin Owens in this Triple H administration probably near the top of what Triple H has done so far since taking over WWE Creative. And mark my words, that is a fact. That is a fact. If you don't agree with that, you're not watching the same show that I am. So I'm glad that he's staying with the WWE, and he is going to do great over the next 5 years. And hopefully it will result in a future WWE Championship run. Releases. Details behind the numerous releases that we saw on Friday Night SmackDown live during the show and continued on into this morning on Saturday, and even as I record this particular video for you guys on this Saturday afternoon. A number of WWE releases took place on February 7th, last night, live during SmackDown. Fightful broke the news and got a little bit more information first before anybody else. And they were told the calls were made right around the start of SmackDown and have learned more on the cuts that happened last night. Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering have been released by the WWE. AOP came back into WWE with a bit of heat throughout the industry due to some of their outside projects. They wanted to run a show, I believe, in Saudi Arabia, and that blew up. I don't really know the inner details of what happened there. One of which saw a few people in wrestling put money in and were really upset that they didn't get back. This was for their show that they wanted to run in Saudi Arabia. Apparently, a lot of money was lost on such a venture. One person in WWE said that could be a reason they were put with Karrion Kross, who is generally well-liked. So they needed the rub from Kross onto AOP, and it didn't really amount to much of anything, even though they were named the Final Testament. AOP had been adamant that Paul Ellering joined the company with them when they did re-sign with the company. They were actually under contract for a number of months before actually reappearing with WWE. Many in the company saw it as a rough omen when they were hardly on TV with Kross. There were no creative plans for AOP and Ellering following the Wyatt 6 storyline. which is another failure in itself. I don't really know what's going on with the Wyatt Six. They got moved from Raw to SmackDown. We haven't really seen much of them at all on WWE television, which is quite telling there and quite worrisome if you're a fan of the Wyatt Six. Makeup of the group is great. I thought the same thing about the Final Testament. AOP, they were a force to be reckoned with in the original Black and Gold. And when they got brought up to the main roster, they were just embarrassed beyond recognition. And they were they were put with Spud Webb, I believe, or something along those lines. And I remember they were just a joke of a tag team. Vince took Paul Ellering away from them instead of being a reincarnation of like a great old school tag team like he used to manage with Legion of Doom. They went nowhere. They went absolutely nowhere. They eventually got fired. Triple H brought them back, and they were brought back because it was a firing that Triple H kind of thought in the moment, I want to bring back everybody that my father-in-law fired just to say, fuck you, haha. And that's exactly what the AOP ended up being. They were brought back as a retaliation rehire because Triple H was in his feelings when Vince basically ran him out of the fucking company and ruined everything named Black and Gold. So when Vince fired them, he brought them back when he took over creative for WWE 2 years ago. So that's all that had to happen there. And if you want to really boil it down to the Final Testament, Karrion Kross, how does this now affect Karrion Kross? It doesn't. It affects him in a positive way. It's not going to affect him in a negative way. He's going to be fine. Karrion Kross has done some of the best backstage work out of anybody in WWE. He's a captivating character. His body language is great. His vibe is great. His creepiness is on, a level where you just got to watch him and see what he does next and see what he says next. I really feel like this year, I could be wrong because we've been more wrong than right when it comes to Karrion Kross, but I feel like this year he's going to break away and this is going to be his year and he's going to finally break through that mold and be the character that Triple H thought he was getting all those years ago when he pushed him like a monster in NXT Black and Gold. And I hope that Kross, months from now, doesn't end up in the same way that all these people I'm going to mention are in after Friday Night SmackDown going into today. He's way too valuable. He's way too bigger of a star than most of the people on this list. And I do think that this is going to be his breakaway year. I do. They just got to continue doing what they're doing with him, put him in the ring with some top-tier talent, let him work his heel shtick, and get him in there with baby faces that are really going to elicit a reaction so that Kross benefits from it as well. So I hope to see WWE continue that with Kross, but Final Testament went nowhere. They were basically a Walmart bargain basement version of the Judgment Day. They didn't do anything. Their promos were cringy. They were nothing more than a charisma vacuum as a group. Kross was the only one with Scarlett that really stood out there. They went nowhere. They feuded with who? The Hurt Business or the Pride? When Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits were on SmackDown, they dropped that. Then all of a sudden they feud with the Wyatt Six. WWE dropped that. I mean, they can't win. Kross can't win. AOP could have been a solid team in the tag team division, a division which needs teams. But I guess WWE didn't really care about that aspect at all, and AOP with Paul Ellering is now gone. Sonya Deville has been released from the company, or in the report it says her contract is expiring. WWE has notified her that they will not be renewing Sonya Deville's contract. So outside of everybody else on this list, Sonya Deville will be eligible for free agency, which is in a number of weeks, says Fightful, and she will not have 90-day non-compete. So when her contract is up, she can go and do literally whatever she wants, no matter where in the world of pro wrestling. Sonya Deville, she had a lot of promise. And minus what we've seen of her and Pure Fusion, Insomnia, Bed Bath and Beyond Collective, the group itself was garbage. And I think everybody kind of saw that on Monday Night Raw. But before that, Sonya Deville had a lot of promise. They paired her up with Mandy Rose, who in real life, they are best friends in real life. She's a former women's WWE Tag Team Champion. She won her first championship in WWE alongside Chelsea Green on July 17th, 2023. Episode of Raw defeating Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez to win the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. I mean, that's a nice little, let me put that on my resume. I could take that with me wherever I go. Fantastic. You're a former champion in WWE. So I'm not going to look at it as a bad thing. She could use that to boost herself up in life after WWE. More importantly, she was the first openly gay female wrestler in WWE, and she made history being that, using her platform to advocate for equality and representation. So that is the biggest thing on her resume. And WWE, obviously, loved that aspect about her. She was a big advocate for the company, and that is a huge deal for her, no matter what she does, anywhere she goes in pro wrestling. So that's that. Tough Enough participant. She competed in the 2015 season of Tough Enough. She placed 11th, and she still signed with the WWE, so clearly they saw some promise in her then if she finished 11th place and still got signed to the WWE. She was a part of the first ever Women's Evolution pay-per-view. She competed in a Battle Royal. She was in the Royal Rumble both in 2018 and 2019 as well as this year. And she was involved in the inaugural Women's Tag Team Championship match at the Elimination Chamber, where she and Mandy Rose were the last team eliminated. And obviously, as you guys know, she was an on-air official with Adam Pearce working as his executive. The biggest claim to fame for Mandy Rose, storyline-wise on WWE television, was her feud with Mandy Rose. And Sonya Deville really started to find her footing and find out where she fit in the WWE ecosystem with that feud. That was the best body of work for Sonya Deville in all her run in WWE. She went away for a little bit. She had that stalker incident with that fucking weird, creepy fucking geek that tried to break into her home. And whatever he was planning to do, he's locked away and should never see the light of day ever again and walks amongst the humans ever again. She took time off, obviously, to recoup from that. She came back to little to no fanfare. WWE had no plans for her. Pure Fusion Collective didn't really do much of anything. Another charisma vacuum group, which I even think that she would probably admit that to you. They went nowhere. I don't even see Shayna Baszler remaining with the company. Whenever her contract is up, I believe she's going to jump ship to AEW as well. So the whole makeup of the group didn't do anything. They didn't factor into anything, and everybody just saw them as, let me get up and go to the concessions. Let me get up and go do anything else collective. So I don't really know what you want me to say. The creative wasn't there. She came back to little to no fanfare. Nobody really cared. The time off killed her. In the eyes of the WWE fans, when you take that amount of time off, it is very difficult to get back into the swing of things. And by the time she did, Sonya Deville was trying to find a place in the current ecosystem of the women's division, and it just wasn't going to happen. So I don't really know what else to tell you. She'll be fine. Sonya can go to TNA if that is allowed. I don't know what is and is not allowed under the WWE partnership there. She would fit like a glove in TNA if she wants to continue to wrestle. She could really hone her craft and work on her character shit in TNA. She could go to, AEW if she wants to. She could go to Japan, work the indies, do what she's got to do on the indies. She's going to be fine. Sonya Deville is someone that is going to kill it on the indies. Former WWE champion, former WWE superstar. Anybody in the indies is going to be bending over backwards to use her and get her some work, no matter where she wants to go. So I think this is going to be a good thing for Sonya Deville leaving WWE. Blair Davenport has been released from the company. Fightful is told that there has not been creative plans for her since her call-up. She is expected to have global interest from many companies. Now, Blair Davenport, to me, out of all the names that I'm going to mention here today, one of the biggest wastes of talent that you could possibly have on this list. Made her NXT debut and had a nice winning streak for herself on NXT, which I don't know why she was called up last year during the WWE draft if they had no fucking plans for her whatsoever. She sat around and they did nothing with Blair Davenport. It took them forever to use Blair Davenport. Meanwhile, names could have been used in that division. New stars could have been elevated in a division that sorely needed it, yet we got Nia Jax, Candice LeRae, Bayley, all through the summer and fall months with zero emotional storytelling. Zero. So I don't know why it took them forever to use Blair Davenport. NXT debut, June 2021, debuted on the NXT UK brand. She wrestled the likes of Nina Samuels and Zaya Brookside, who's now with TNA. NXT UK Women's Championship opportunity. She challenged Meiko Satomura for the NXT UK Women's Championship in January of 2022. She did not win the title, and that was her first loss in NXT UK. She then got moved over to NXT proper here in Orlando, made her in-ring debut for the NXT brand in August of 2022, defeating Indy Hartwell. She was in the Worlds Collide Triple Threat match and participated in that event where WWE unified the NXT UK Women's Championship and the NXT Women's Championship, which obviously was the end of NXT UK, and unified by Mandy Rose. That was NXT 2.0 days. Days I would very much like to forget. She was in the Iron Survivor Challenge. She competed and won the Iron Survivor Challenge at NXT Deadline on December 9th, 2023, and won an opportunity to wrestle for the NXT Women's Championship at New Year's Evil back in January of 2024, where she did not win the NXT Women's Championship. And then she was drafted to SmackDown back in June of 2024, made the transition from NXT to the main roster, and did not do a single thing on the main roster at all. A little mini feud with Naomi. Then they tried to pair her with the Unholy Union, Kaylee Ray and Isla Dawn, or Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and that didn't go anywhere. They had maybe 2 shows with them on television as a group, fed them to Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, and then goodbye for all 3 of them. Blair Davenport, a huge waste of talent. I could see her going back to AEW. I don't know why she would want to go back there. I mean, they could use names. They got a whole fucking talented roster in itself. I don't know where she would find herself. You know, she did tweet out this on social media, top gaijin. So she may be going back to Stardom. She may be going back to Japan for all we know. We don't know where she's going to fit in, but what an absolute waste of talent by WWE for Blair Davenport. Should have been used a lot better. Cedric Alexander, another name released from the WWE. He will be a free agent in 90 days. Sean Ross Sapp has already reported that AEW sources expect several within the Hurt Syndicate to push for his signing for AEW. It's unclear what Tony Khan's interest is in him because obviously the whole issue with his wife, Big Swole, years have passed since then, so I don't know why that would affect him. You know, Tony wants to go collect more toys, and he wants to round out his trading card set with the Hurt Business. He's missing one. He's missing Cedric, so I'm assuming he's going to go after Cedric Alexander just for that aspect alone. Hurt Syndicate, it would be great to see them back together. Nobody knows if Tony's interest is there, but the Hurt Syndicate have arrived in AEW. They are some of the best aspects of their television show, and they are in the midst of a tag team title push. So if I was a betting man, I would say that he is probably going to end up in AEW. Another one that is wasted. I mean, he's never really found his footing in WWE. He had a tremendous Cruiserweight Classic, a classic that had the crowd at Full Sail University begging for Triple H to come on out and hand this kid a contract at the end of his match at the Cruiserweight Classic against Kota Ibushi, if you guys remember. He hasn't topped that in all of his time in WWE. 205 Live was great. Him and Ali, Buddy Matthews, they killed it on that show. But, I mean, there was no love for 205 Live. It was basically just a brand that they did for the sake of doing it to try and give opportunities. Meanwhile, they didn't really care about pushing anybody on that show. He made the main roster. MVP, Cedric, Shelton, Bobby, the Hurt Business was just uber popular during the pandemic era. And then, obviously, that disbanded. Vince broke them up. He had zero fucking, interest in pushing Shelton Benjamin and Bob and Cedric Alexander. They were only put together to make Bobby Lashley look good and have Bobby Lashley win the WWE Championship with the help of a group and MVP. And when that actually happened, he didn't find any need for Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. He didn't give a shit. It's the way Vince McMahon thought. I want to get my guy who is the guy that I want on television. Look at him. How could you not want him on television? I don't want these guys. Shelton's nearing 50, and Cedric Alexander's a fucking cruiserweight. He's one of these vanilla midgets that I was forced to push because my son-in-law's a fucking dope. That's the only reason why they put them together. Bobby Lashley wins the WWE title. Goodbye. They were a tag team in the aftermath of the Hurt Business, but do you think that they went anywhere? Of course not. They were rightfully released because Vince McMahon found no desire to push either one of them as a tag team, singles, and he had no desire for a tag team division, period. Cedric then got moved to NXT, and I don't even know what he was doing down there. I don't know how you got a guy like Cedric Alexander and you don't use him on the men's side of the current NXT product where they are so sorely needing talent. And they just let him go. WWE's just cutting their losses. I'm surprised it took this long, to be quite honest with you. An uber talented guy that is going to land on his feet no matter where. GCW, House of Glory, the Indies, MLW, New Japan, AEW. I mean, the guy is going to find work on day 91 when he is officially a free agent. Isla Dawn has been released by WWE. Dawn started her WWE journey in NXT UK like Blair Davenport. She quickly made a name for herself there. She had notable feuds with top stars like Meiko Satomura, Kaylee Ray, who she eventually became tag team partners with on the main roster, now known as Alba Fire. She went to NXT in 2022. She formed a tag team with Alba Fire, known as the Unholy Union. Former WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. They gave them the token victory at Clash at the Castle in Scotland over Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, and they didn't really do much after that. Now, I'm drawing a blank. They were basically used to put the team of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair over and used basically as the hometown girls to get a big pop out of the Scotland crowd. Thanks for coming. Isla Dawn hasn't wrestled a TV match since November 3rd, 2024. All the fake outrage, this goes along with all of these names I'm about to mention and I've already mentioned. The fake outrage from people online. You're not outraged. You never gave a shit about these people. You didn't even realize they were still employed. The fake outrage is one of the most laughable aspects when releases like this happen. You don't think that these people, these men and women, are better off leaving WWE? What was Isla Dawn doing that you so desperately wanted to see on television? I doubt even any of you listening to me realized she was still with the company. She was on WWE Speed. They had a Speed taping right before SmackDown last night. That's the last you're going to see of Isla Dawn. You don't think she deserves better than that? You don't think her talents are better than WWE Speed? 90 days, she'll be up and a free agent, and she'll be back on the indies doing better than she ever has done in the last 2 years with WWE. So I don't really find this to be a negative when it comes to Isla Dawn. Now, my question is Kaylee Ray, is Alba Fire going to be the next to be terminated? I don't know. They were a tag team, unless WWE plans to push Alba Fire in the women's division, who also got no reaction every time she came out. I don't know. I don't really know where she goes from here, but Alba Fire still with the company. Isla Dawn gone from WWE. Giovanni Vinci released from WWE. This actually happened before I recorded this video. Released by WWE. Vinci debuted in NXT as part of Imperium alongside Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser, who was known as Marcel Bartel in NXT Black and Gold. Vinci's association with Imperium ended. Nobody knows why. And he was transitioned into a singles competitor and had not been used after they moved him from Imperium on Raw to SmackDown. The only time they used him was in 2 matches where he lost to Apollo Crews, one of which was 3 seconds. And then he made a backstage appearance a couple weeks ago where Cody Rhodes and Carmelo Hayes got into a backstage altercation while Cody Rhodes was feuding with Kevin Owens. And that was it. Goodbye. Thanks for coming, Giovanni Vinci. And another guy who was in the Cruiserweight Classic that wowed everybody there. He went to NXT. Imperium, pound for pound, was the best tag team in all of WWE. You wanted another team that was basically the same makeup as The Bar, Sheamus, and Cesaro. They were that. I don't really understand how you have a multifaceted, fucking talented guy like Giovanni Vinci, who was a tag team wrestler, fucking killed it. Cruiserweight, fucking killed it. A guy who could have easily been placed in the middle of the card for the United States Championship or an Intercontinental Championship with his wrestling ability. He was never given an opportunity to even show anyone that he's capable of being a singles guy. They moved Kaiser over to Raw to do a singles thing. They trusted Kaiser, but had absolutely zero opportunity given to Giovanni Vinci. I don't understand why. If there is any one of these talents that's been a fucking waste, just blatantly wasted, it is Giovanni Vinci. I don't know what else to tell you. What has he done? He's done nothing. He's done nothing. Absolutely blatant misuse of talent by Triple H and his administration here with Giovanni Vinci. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson have been released by WWE. Their first stint in WWE started in 2016, where they won the tag team titles twice. They were let go. They returned to WWE in 2022, aligned with AJ Styles to give him a heel group to work with, reforming the original club, the OC. Most recently, they've been working in NXT. Carl Anderson's been sidelined since November with a torn rotator cuff and a partially torn labrum. So they released Carl Anderson injured. It's a nice way to go about things. So as of right now, they're gone. Giovanni Vinci, Isla Dawn, Blair Davenport, Cedric Alexander, Sonya Deville, Paul Ellering, and both Akam and Razor of AOP. Those are the names as of right now that have been released from WWE. There is nobody else that I'm seeing right now, Vinci being the last of the releases as of 1 hour ago on social media. Fightful Select is told that internal rosters were not adjusted as of Friday Night SmackDown. The last time there were releases, the company waited until a few days later. Guys, it's not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. I look at this as a new lease on life. Same thing with the last couple of releases. Baron Corbin, Bishop Dyer is his new name on the indies. He's going to kill it wherever he goes if he decides to continue wrestling. All of the names that have currently been released, and with this group and the last group, they will find their footing. And Tegan Knox was apparently part of the last one as well. She's about to hit the indies as well, I believe starting in February. Everybody released from the company is going to be fine. The one thing I find humorous and laughable is the fake outrage that people don't really understand how a business works. WWE has such a fucking overloaded, rich developmental system. They have so much talent that they have on NXT right now that's ready for a main roster call-up, and so much talent that they continue to bring in with the WWE ID program that they're giving them a show all to themselves. NXT Evolve is going to be debuting in March. WWE's got so much talent. So what they are doing right now is they are in the beginning stages of getting the talent from NXT that should already be on the main roster. I mean, you got Jordan Grace coming in, you got Julia, you got Stephanie Vaquer, you got Sol Ruka, Lola Vice. I mean, you got so many women that are eventually this year going to make the transition from NXT to the main roster. NXT is going to then be resupplied through the WWE ID program and the Performance Center and get some new talent on TV. NXT is going to go through a rebuilding phase. You're going to get a whole new crop of stars on Tuesday nights, and it's going to be a fun watch to see everybody develop. But WWE, if they have no use for this talent and they're just sitting collecting a paycheck and there's no real creative, there's no desire from the talent, there's no desire from the management to put them on television, to come up with creative, it's just a vicious cycle. So you're better off just letting the talent go and doing what they have to do. All of these talents will find a great spot on the indies. Sonya's going to be better off than she was. Vinci's going to be better off than he was. Cedric Alexander's going to be with his boys in AEW in the Hurt Syndicate. He's going to be fine. Isla Dawn is going to be fine. Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson will probably go back to New Japan when they can. Everybody is going to be fine. I promise you, you're not going to lose sleep over this. This happens in all sports. There are signings and there are releases. There are people that get paid more money, and then budgets need to be cut to offset the signings of major talent and developmental talent that is going to be brought to the main roster. It is not the end of the world. Pro wrestling is in such a good place right now where a move or moves like this are not going to harm WWE in any which way. The one thing that you should be complaining about is not the loss of talent here. It's the mismanagement of talent. You know, we all expect change, and WWE for the better part of 2 years has been so much better than it was under the Vince McMahon administration. But there seems to still be a problem. Triple H is not a miracle worker. He's not. He makes his mistakes, but also at the same time, he's changed the product for the better. The one thing that is blatantly still obvious and blatantly still a problem is mismanagement of talent. There's only so much TV time to go around, and the administration that's in place right now, you know, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen. They got who they got on television. They push who they want to push on television. The stories have been a lot better. The stories have been more involved. But WWE has failed more times than I really want to admit in creating new stars. The stars that they have not been given an opportunity to be better and get a spot on TV and keep a spot on TV and gain the trust of the audience. It's almost as if WWE had these talents go through one administration, not be used. And then when Triple H took over, he didn't know what to do with them. It just feels like they suffered under Vince and they're going to suffer under Triple H. And that's what's been done. It's almost as if Triple H gave up on them because they didn't do anything under the last administration. And there's nothing that he could do to fix that in this administration. It just comes off so bad. It comes off bad. And I don't believe talent like Isla Dawn couldn't find a spot, Cedric Alexander, and Giovanni Vinci, of all people. Not even an opportunity. That is just blatantly wrong and just a crime of just mishandling talent. I don't get it. But everybody here, I promise you, is going to be better off in the end, whether they got 30 days, 90 days. Cedric was obviously working under a WWE main roster deal as they moved him back to NXT, which sucks. He got released while working NXT and still has to go through the 90 days, whereas suppose the NXT talent that get released that work NXT are under NXT contracts, they only got 30 days. Duke Hudson was just released last week. He's got 30 days. Now Cedric's got to wait an additional 60 days to go join AEW. It sucks. It sucks. But everybody in the end is going to be better off for it. Let me know what you guys think of these releases. Who are you shocked by? Who are you not surprised by? Let me know down in the comments section below, and I will keep you guys updated throughout the weekend if there is more releases from the WWE. As of right now, 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday, it seems to have slowed down just a little bit. Any more names get released, I will keep you guys posted on social media, at JD from NY206, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Cameo, and I will also update you here on the channel as well. And I got more news coming tomorrow as well. Super Bowl Sunday, we'll get a video up early for you guys. More news to round out the week right here on Off the Script. Hit that subscribe button down below. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you guys right back here Sunday with more news on OTS. I'll see you guys later.